Thank you, Alicia. Alicia Carroll, everybody. Let's give her a hand. Thank you. And welcome. Happy end of spring break, I guess, for all of the folks in Douglas County. I know that I was talking to one of you this morning, and one of you said, oh, I've got to get up early again. So welcome here as you end your spring break. And we're going to discuss and explore this morning walking the path. Now, what is spirituality? I mean, really. If I were to ask each one of you, or if you were to come and ask me, I mean, what is spirituality? Let's think about that and ponder it and feel it for just a second. We have, in our Beyond Limits class right now, we kind of went over this 2 classes ago. What is spirituality? And in the curriculum, it says this, and I think it's beautiful, and I wanted to share it with you this morning. It says, spirituality is simply living with the intention to realize God in every circumstance of your being. I kind of like that because it's pretty simple. Spirituality, simply living with the intention to realize God in every circumstance of your being. And that says a lot to me. It's saying living with the intention. You know, spirituality, you can determine and say that you're a spiritual person if you have the intention to do that, even when sometimes days might come up or things might happen where you might not be seeing the God in every circumstance, but by golly, you've got the intention to do that. And that's a good thing. So that's how we determine spirituality in the Beyond Limits class. And in short, it's your thoughts. Thank you. It's your emotions, your words, your deeds, your relations, your aspirations. In short, the totality of your whole life, the life right to its very end. You know, I love most of the time, especially this morning, to start out with something a little funny. I read this story a few years ago, and then I got to hear it again this week. And I wanted to share it with you because I think it's just absolutely hilarious. But picture, if you will, this husband and wife that had been married for a while, and their honeymoon was coming up. And they wanted to celebrate their honeymoon by traveling back. They live up north where it's cold, traveling back to Florida and staying in the original hotel where they had stayed on their honeymoon. And the husband got off a day earlier and was going to go ahead of his wife, and she was going to arrive the next day when she was finished with work. And when he got to the hotel, he got all settled in, and he noticed, wow, they've done some remodeling, you know, and they've got computers in the room now. They had internet, and he thought, oh, I'm just going to get all settled in, and then I'm going to email my wife. So he emailed his wife, and when he entered her email address on the computer in the room, he left one character out. So the email actually went somewhere else. The email actually went to the home of an elderly lady that was just coming home from her husband's memorial. And she knew that there were probably a lot of people that were going to be reaching out to her that couldn't make it. And so she went online to check her emails to experience the connection there. And she checked her email, and she saw immediately that she had gotten one where the subject line said, "From your loving husband." So she reads this email from your loving husband, and it basically just says this. It says, greetings, just got here today, and it says, I've just arrived today, and they've really spiffied up the place. They've put computers in now, and so I thought I would send you an email to let you know that I've arrived safely. Things are great. Really looking forward to spending time with you. We're expecting your arrival tomorrow. And then it says, P.S. It's really hot down here. So as you can imagine, the poor dear fainted, and her son had to come over and immediately saw what the issue was. So could you just imagine? So just hilarious story. The poor dear getting an email like that. So, life is a whole lot like that, isn't it, while we're walking the path? Things are so determinate on our perspective, no matter what that is. And our perspective depends on what frame of mind we're in the moment. What attitude are we in this very moment? You know, our lives can be defined as perfect and happy and spiritual, having that intention of seeing and experiencing God in every circumstance. Yet when we interact with people and when we have an experience, whether it's going to the grocery store or whether it's going to work or whether it's going to bed or waking up in the morning, it kind of all depends on what we're filtering through our perception, doesn't it? And we can hold that intention. We can hold that intention of being spiritual. Yet sometimes it doesn't, we don't always end up seeing God in every circumstance. You know, I think of walking our spiritual path a whole lot like a labyrinth. You know, last Sunday? After the service and eating, Tony and I went to the sanctuary and walked the labyrinth there. I absolutely love the activity of walking a labyrinth. And we'll go into a little further as to why that is. But, you know, labyrinths look and feel like you're constantly moving away from the center. If you ever walk a labyrinth, you're walking it, and it always looks like you're walking away from the center, even though you know you're moving towards the center. And then eventually you get there. Eventually the path leads you right smack dab into the center. Yet you knew if you just kept putting each step forward, if you just kept taking the very next step, you knew that it was going to lead you to the center, even though it didn't look like it. It certainly didn't appear like it. And that is a whole lot like the spiritual path. It is simply the journey of living our lives. Everyone is on a spiritual path. This is what Marianne Williamson says about it. The spiritual path is simply the journey of living our lives. Everyone is on a spiritual path. Most people just don't know it. Most people don't realize that they are walking a labyrinth in every single activity and experience of our life. A whole lot of times it looks like we're moving away from center. But if we just realize it, like Marianne Williamson says, most people just don't realize it. But if we were to realize it, excuse us, it sounds like God's calling now. Hello. So we're walking. Somebody's calling to say it's hot down there. So yes, life is a whole lot like walking that labyrinth. You know, the universe sees the big picture. And I was explaining to someone this week while I was working with them, the longer I live in this incarnation, it is becoming increasingly easier for me to realize there is a bigger picture to everything. You know, every day that goes by, every year that goes by, it gets easier and easier for me to realize, you know, there is a bigger picture that is universally put together. And I know we talk a lot about that here, but I just want you to know that no matter what you are experiencing when you are walking this spiritual path, there is a bigger picture. There is a bigger universal picture. We don't always understand why things happen. We just need to know it's working for us, no matter what. And just like a labyrinth, when it looks like you're going back, yet you really aren't, you are entirely making your way to center. I believe that we all have a desire to go to a higher level of conscious awareness, a higher level of living, a higher level of expressing the divine through us. Whatever that defines and looks and feels like to you, I believe that we are all aspiring to constantly and consistently go to a higher level. Sometimes, though, we need to realize that sometimes we need to get off the mountain we're on and go through the valley and pick up things along the way while we're traveling that valley to the next mountain, to the next higher mountain. If you can just picture that symbolism, you know, that's the stepping stones as we're walking through this path. And you may be in the valley picking those things up along the way, and you may not be able to truly feel or see the good in it at the moment. Just know it's just like the labyrinth. No matter what you are going through, no matter what you're experiencing, it is in fact taking you to center, no matter what. So I wanted you to know that if you're walking along your path, if you've gone into the valley and you're taking your stepping stones, if you isolate one of those stones in your journey, if you pick one stone that you happen to be stepping on in the moment as bad, if you see it as bad, then you will become bitter. You'll become bitter in that journey to center. And I'm here to invite you to not need to label and judge each particular stepping stone while you're in the valley going up to the next mountain. Don't judge your future by sidestepping the stones either. You know, just know it, be with it, call it what it is, and take that next step, and then take that next step, and then take that next step, because it is always going to bring you back to center. I promise you that. Nelson Mandela had a copy of Invictus in the prison when he was in prison in South Africa. And it says, "I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Let nothing steal your joy. Love the life that you imagine." And that's really what we're here to teach every single Sunday and in every single class. That's the roots and the fruit of this teaching, is let nothing steal your joy. Love the life you imagine. Even when, as you're walking on that path, if you step on a particular stone that feels bad to you, don't hang out there. Don't stop on the stone and say, well, this is it. It's not going to get any better than this, and become bitter about it. The teaching is all about, well, you have the tools in your toolkit, and you have that trust and faith in the spirituality that we defined earlier, the intention to realize God in every circumstance of your being. You've got that. So then that's what you need to just take that next step, and just take that next step through that valley. Nothing randomly happens. Know that every single stepping stone on your path is there for a divine high purpose. It's there for good and greatness. It's there to support you in that goal that I believe we all have of rising higher and ever higher. You know, a lot of times folks can say that, well, when a stone has been strategically placed on my path, that it can almost be seen as kind of a test. How we choose to react to it, what we choose to become because of it, what we choose to do in our response to it, kind of defines our growth. It defines the direction that we're going to go in, and it kind of defines our ascension into that higher consciousness, our ascension up that next mountain. So I like to say, tell yourself you're in it to win it. You're in it to win it. You know, Kitchen Table Wisdom, Rachel Naomi Remen, who I absolutely love and adore. I got the opportunity to meet her in 1996 at an alternative health symposium. She is a delightful, beautiful being of light, and she is a wonderful author of many books, like My Grandfather's Blessings and Kitchen Table Wisdom. And she is just, she has been a light for so many people as they are walking their path and stepping on those stones where they have a tendency to hang out a little bit and become bitter. And so people go and see her and talk to her about this. She's amazing. And she was seeing this one woman who had what some people would term a rather challenging life medically. She seemed to have had almost, just about anything you could possibly imagine as far as illness and disease come up for her that she's been able to go through the surgeries and the testing and the remedies, and she would come out of each one, just renewed and rebirthed and stepping constantly on her path up the next mountain. Yet one day, something came up. There was something that was showing up, and she needed to get a further test on it. And I guess her spirit, her mind, her mental attitude just told her she was done. She's like, I'm done. She just fried. She just went on fried circuits and thought, I just can't do this anymore. And she got herself into quite a depressing state. And she was very anxious and had a lot of anxiety about it. And so someone referred her to go see Dr. Rachel Naomi Remen about it. And Dr. Rachel just lovingly, embraced her and held the space for her and was kind of like, well, can you tell me just a little bit about yourself? Can you kind of bring me to what has brought you to this point? And so while the dear lady was explaining it, the more she explained it, the stronger her voice got, and the brighter her eyes got, and the faster she talked as she kind of detailed and went over the history of her life experience that had brought her to this moment. And on her own, after telling her story, she confidently said, oh my God, I have been through so much and have prevailed, and I have won over so much. What am I worried about this stupid little test for? Test best. I can take this with my hands tied behind my back and my eyes closed. And, and that's kind of what I'm talking about is, this woman was allowing herself in the moment. She had kind of chosen to stay on that stepping stone a little too long, and in the moment it was becoming too much for her. She was getting overwhelmed by it. She was eaten up by anxiety. Yet when she started to really look at the core of her being and what she was capable of and what she had truly pulled off in her life, she realized, this is nothing. I got this. I can do this. So I thought that was a great story. So don't be discouraged about what you're going through. If you happen to be going through something right now, don't be discouraged by it. And to that woman, it had eventually, after she looked at her whole life, it had become a teensy, weensy little inconvenience to her. Each stone is just a teensy, weensy little inconvenience when we look at the bigger picture. So don't be discouraged. Difficulties don't defeat, they promote. Know that each one is there to help promote you up that mountain, up that next higher consciousness level that you may be choosing to aspire to. So there's this story of a guy that's hanging a mirror, to prove that every challenge is here to promote us and that there's a bigger picture in everything. Joel Osteen tells a story of a guy that was over at someone's house helping them hang a very large mirror one day. And he kind of had the tools, and he was over there helping them. And he had to be up on a ladder, and it was a heavy mirror. And sure enough, he lost his balance. And even though he was only up a few steps, he lost his balance. He fell back. He landed on the corner of a dresser, and he cracked some ribs and kind of hurt himself, and to where he had to go to the hospital and seek care. Now, this is just like the several stories that I could tell you about this, where we could immediately go, oh no, that's bad, that poor man. Yet I'll have you know that when he went into the hospital and he was getting treatment and he had some tests run, the doctors discovered he had a major artery blockage of 98%, and the doctors told him he was a walking time bomb. And while he was in there, they went ahead and fixed whatever they needed to fix to clear up that arterial blockage, and he felt so much better after it. So there's another opportunity to prove that, everything is here to promote us, no matter what. Even if it feels and looks like it could cause pain, or it's going to be a struggle or a difficulty, just know that it is here to promote you. So don't fight what doesn't go your way. See the gift in it. It's all about that definition of spirituality. Having the intention to see the consciousness of the divine. Having the intention to see the workings of the divine in everything, in every aspect of our life. Opposition is a sign of good things coming. Just know that. So try not to use your words to describe your situation. Use your words to change your situation. Instead of complaining about it, know that all is well and something better is definitely coming. It just always is. So just also don't be moved by your circumstances. This is taking away your power. When you happen to be walking along your path and you hit that one stepping stone and a challenge arises, do your best to not be moved by that circumstance. You have the power. Just like the woman in the story that Dr. Rachel was seeing. She was letting the circumstance kind of take her power away from her, and then when she got to tell her story, she remembered. She remembered who actually had the power. She remembered where the source of her strength was, and it was from within her. The Dalai Lama says, we have learned that the key to happiness is inner peace. The greatest obstacle to inner peace is disturbing emotions such as anger, attachment, fear, and suspicion, while love and compassion and a sense of universal responsibility are the sources of peace and happiness. So let's think about that for a minute. The key to happiness is inner peace. Is there anything in your life that is taking away or keeping you from feeling peaceful right now? Does it show up right now as anger or attachment? Are you attached to something that you're having a hard time letting go of that's definitely pulling away? Is there fear going on or suspicion? What is taking away your ability to feel and know inner peace right now? And just know that you are wrapped and embraced in the arms of love and compassion. That you have the ability to take that next step and step on a next stone. You have the ability to leave that. I want to share with you that on Friday night, Tony and I had a very unusual experience. He went into work early that day so that he could be off that night, and we actually had a Friday night off, and we got to go on a date, and it was really awesome. And the reason why we planned it that way is because there was a film premiere that we had been personally invited to by the producer. And so we were all excited, and it was at this theater in downtown Denver, or near Denver. I don't know Denver very well, but it was kind of close to downtown Denver. And it was at this really cool theater that I'd never been at before. And we had some time, because we left early because we had no idea what the traffic was going to look like. So we had a little time to hang out before the premiere actually started. And there was a Sprouts there, and we had a couple of, a friend of his, a longtime friend, he had helped his kids get jobs there. So we went in to see if they were working. We wanted to say hi. And it was just the most adorable little experience, because we're in there bebopping around Sprouts, looking to see if the kids were working. And I always love to go to Sprouts, because different ones, because they handle their clearance shelves differently. Some clearance things out, and you have all this great clearance, and some don't. So I always like to go to the clearance section. Well, guess what they had in the clearance section? It was the coolest night ever. They had all these little ice creams, these different flavors of really, really good, high quality, organic ice creams, different flavors. And we were like little kids, let's get some ice cream. They were 99 cents. So because we had grabbed a bag of popcorn we were going to take to the movie, and I thought, oh, let's get some ice cream. There were like these big chocolate chip ice cream sandwiches, and so 99 cents. We both picked out our ice cream, and there was a table up front that we sat at, and we had our little spoons, and we were having our little date eating our ice cream. And it dawned on Tony. He's like, I can just hear it now when I go back to work. So what did you do on your day off? What did you do on your Friday night off? Well, we went to Sprouts and hung out and ate ice cream. It was just really funny. But the reason why I'm telling you that story is, we were on an adventure, and we had some time, and we were just going along, and it felt like so much fun. And this is what I was talking about last week, when we get out of our boxes and we dissolve them entirely, kind of like when we're on vacation. It's that attitude. It's having that intention of the divine to express itself no matter what. And so that's what we were doing. We were eating our ice cream, and then we go and watch this movie. Now, I didn't know anything about this movie whatsoever, and I will say that I can easily say that this movie has changed my life. A lot of things change my life, because it causes me to think differently. It causes me to have a different concept. Sometimes things cause me to have a different plan in my life. Well, that's what this movie did. This was a movie called Walking the Camino de Santiago. And the actual movie title is Walking the Camino. And I didn't know anything about it. I wasn't raised Catholic, didn't know a thing about what Walking the Camino was. And it's a pilgrimage. It's a medieval Europe's version of a through-like pilgrimage. There's several different paths you can take, but the one that we watched that they filmed in the documentary was a path that took you mostly through France. And it was just beautiful. And the documentary was done and followed like 6 different people that were actually doing this pilgrimage. And some people do it because they believe in it, because it follows a particular faith that they believe in. Some people do it because it's a great way to sightsee and see the countryside. You're walking almost 850 kilometers, which is almost 500, right around 500 miles. That's a long way. It takes people usually 28 to about 35 days to do it. And every little town that you get to, if you're a pilgrim walking it, they have hostels there where you can stay, and they feed you. So what a great way to see the countryside, huh? You're not speeding by. You can smell the smells and see the sights and hear the birds and hear the water, and how beautiful it was. It was just awesome. And then the people that put this film together, Lydia is her name, that produced this film, that experience changed her life. When she walked the Camino in, I believe it was 2007, she was engaged to be married and had planned on getting married and having children, and her whole life was kind of laid out for her. And then she went on this incredible journey, where literally every step of this journey takes you more and more to your center. And she went on this journey and came out of it just knowing that that wasn't really what her life was going to look like, what her life was meant to be. She learned a whole lot about herself, just like I think everybody learns when they take this journey. You know, if you can imagine walking almost 500 miles over the course of a month to more than a month in beautiful countryside and meeting and talking to different people that you've never seen before, and being in that kind of meditative prayer and that space, just imagine what would be coming up for you to learn about yourself and what you would learn about yourself coming back to center. And she learned a lot that she didn't even know was in there. And she realized she needed to make this movie, is what she did. She learned that she needed to make this movie. Now, I want to tell you just a little bit about what happened to the folks that were portrayed in this documentary and what their journey was when they walked this. There was this one woman, her name was Annie. Is that correct? Annie? You know, at the very beginning, Annie was, I don't know, it's hard to say age these days because we all feel 20, right? But Annie, I guess you could say, I mean, I met her Friday night, so I have no idea. I'll just guess. She was in her 40s, maybe 50s. And she went on this walk on her own. And the documentary was portraying Annie's experience, like the first couple of days in particular. And she was really in her head, big time. She had these walking sticks, and she's walking, and she's in her head, and she's talking about how truly competitive she found out she is. That it really bothered her every time somebody would pass her. Every single time somebody passed her, it grated on her and grated on her and grated on her, and she started feeling really bitter about the experience. And she started feeling a lot of pain in her joints and in her knees and in her hips. And then she went on to explain, you're not going to believe this, but this elderly gentleman who was in his 70s with an obvious spinal condition passed me. She was really upset about that. She's like, I even got passed by, an elderly gentleman in his 70s with an obvious skeletal issue. And so it became a real thing for her. And she gets to the first place to sleep at night. And of course, she got there much later than everybody else because she was experiencing pain. She couldn't walk as fast. There was one little space for her bedroll left. And it was right up next to another one. And she's like, oh, man, I hope that a man isn't sleeping here. I just wouldn't be that comfortable sleeping that close to a man. And sure enough, it was this big, brutish German guy. And so as you can see, she's living her experience in her mind. And at least we can applaud her for the courage of sharing her truth in that moment. And then she said she got up super early the next day to get an extra head start because she didn't like people passing her, and she didn't like showing up as the last person at the place, and she was in a lot of pain. Second day was harder on her than the first day. And mid-morning, the big German guy was passing her and said, oh, you're the American, and saw that she was in a lot of pain and was having a hard time. He immediately took her backpack from her and carried it the rest of the way for her that day. And when she was sharing this, she started to cry because something within her dissolved. You see, she was taking steps to center. She's walking this path, and she started it out all in her mind. She had this idea of what it was going to look like, that she was going to walk fast and prove something to herself and whatever she was thinking. But she realized immediately in the surroundings and in the circumstance that it wasn't that way at all. There was something deeper going on here, and she was going to have to get past her mind. If she wanted to truly be able to walk this and finish it, she was going to have to readjust her course of her expectation of what this walk was going to be for her. Because she had created all of this pain in her body because she was holding on to these expectations and she was feeling competitive. And she started to realize that. And so she started to let up on herself. She's like, I have just got to surrender to this. I'll get there when I get there. I might not be able to walk with the same group of people. I'm going to have to go at my own pace, whatever that looks like. So when she made that shift, she automatically started enjoying it. She started seeing the beauty that she was walking by instead of constantly being in her head going, oh, I got to get going. I don't want to be the last one at this next place. Can you see can you feel the difference there? There's definitely a difference. And so then she started portraying her experience from her other perspective of allowing herself to go into center and see the beauty. You know, there's 5 other people that was covered in this documentary, and they all walked their path to center in different ways, and they were all very beautiful and very sacred and very powerful. And I just know that when I finished seeing this movie, it reminded me so much of camp, teen camps. You know, it's a lot like that. You know, you're going with all that you can carry, and especially summer camp. You know, some years I've had to sleep in the tent. Some years I got the cabin. And it's a hardcore schedule, especially for advisors, because if there's any free time for the teams, we're in meetings. And it's just hardcore, and you can't be focused on things other than going to center. You got to be focused on actually just experiencing the spiritual aspect of the moment. You got to be in the moment. And it reminded me of that. You know, the thing about when the big German guy took her backpack from her, that was really symbolic, because she was carrying huge weight on her shoulder. She was carrying huge weight in her mind. How much weight are we carrying around in our mind that really doesn't need to be there? Because in the documentary, when they were covering these people, this one woman who had a huge backpack and tons of stuff in it, because of course you're carrying everything that you need for 30, 35 days, she realized during this journey that she didn't need 3/4 of what was in her backpack. And so she went to, in one particular town, she emptied it out, and she started just deciding, what am I going to keep and what am I going to ship home? Because she got to a new revelation, you know, that she didn't need all the stuff in there that she thought she needed, that was weighing her down from experiencing the experience that she was in the moment. What are you carrying right now? What's in your backpack that may be hindering you from being in the moment and experiencing your experience? And are you standing on a particular stone on your path, staying there a little too long, not willing to let it up, becoming bitter? Are you carrying rocks in your backpack that you don't need? Because that's another thing about what was portrayed in this movie, how beautifully symbolic it was. Those thoughts that we're thinking to ourselves, whatever that might be, I don't know. I can just guess, you know, but if it's, you know, I don't make enough money, or I don't have this, or I don't have this, or I'm not liked here, or I can't possibly do that, I'm not good enough, or I can't do that, I'm not smart enough, whatever it is, let it go. Because it's a burden, and it's a heaviness that you really don't need to carry around in your backpack. Because if there's something in your backpack that's keeping you from being here in the moment and truly enjoying the beauty that we are completely surrounded by and that we have within us, just let it go. Just let it go. You don't need all that stuff. I'm here to tell you. You don't need it. And so the rest of the people portrayed in the documentary, they were just beautiful. There was this one woman who was doing it as a total spiritual experience, and she was very present and prayed the whole time. And there was a caveat to that. She had her 3-year-old son with her. She was doing this with a 3-year-old child. And she'd push him some in a stroller and some not. And she had invited her brother, who she said that they had always argued. Every single moment of every single week and day of their life, they had argued. But for some reason, circumstances came up to where they could take this pilgrimage together. And he was coming at it from a different element. He was coming at it for fun. He was looking at it as an awesome playtime, which was totally different than what she needed. So there were times where they needed to separate. She made that decision. But it's a great movie, and I highly recommend you checking it out. It's premiering in all different cities all over the United States up until the end of September, and then it's going to be offered on DVD. But I will share with you, after I saw the movie, I was really moved to do this pilgrimage. And Tony and I have it on our bucket list. You know, I am going to plan to do this. I will do this one day in my life. I know that I will. And I look forward to it, and it's something that I yearn for, just like camp, just like teen camp. And any time I have the opportunity to go on a spiritual retreat that gets me out of my norm and puts me in a different space with different challenges and different obstacles so that I can move more to center, so that I can discover even more about what I have within myself and understand that to a greater level and greater depth. And so I'm gonna look forward to it. We're gonna plan for it. I'm excited about it. I got the opportunity to talk to Lydia, who produced this documentary after the film. And she was just a wonderful, beautiful soul to talk about. She said, I just want to tell you the importance of spiritual mind treatment and seeing practitioners. She said, she goes to the Agape Center with Dr. Michael Beckwith. And she said, I sought out a practitioner treatment this morning, and I just can't tell you enough how it has impacted my life. You take these paths, you're on this mountain, you go through the valleys, you pick things up on the way so that you can climb to the next mountain. And she's pointing out, these are my tools in my toolkit, and I just want to tell you how grateful I am for it and how awesome it is. And she said, and I want to tell everybody, use it, whatever it is that's in your toolkit, because folks that walk that, walking the Camino, they're all of different faiths. There's some that are doing it as a pilgrimage for their particular faith. There's others that are doing it for their own internal spiritual faith. But they're all walking it for their own faith. And she was saying, whatever, this is what I took from what she told me Friday night. Whatever your faith, use those toolkits. Use what's in your toolkit. Do the prayer, do the meditation. Have someone pray with you. She says it's made such a huge difference in her life. They've been doing fundraising, raising the funds to be able to premiere this movie for the last 4 years. And Annie was there too. Annie, who was in the movie, was there Friday night. And at the very beginning, she says, I have dreamed of you all for 4 years. I have held you in mind. And now it's becoming their reality. Their dream is now becoming their reality. It's a beautiful thing. So Oprah Winfrey says, understand that the right to choose your own path is a sacred privilege. Use it and dwell in the possibility. Use it. The right to choose your own path. Whether you're walking the Camino, whether you're walking your path right here today, you have the sacred power to choose that path. And it is a privilege. Use it. So I'm going to ask you, what paths have you walked in the past? Think about the paths that you have walked in the past that have brought you to this moment. Think about the different labyrinths and the different curves and the different turns. Think of the journeys that you've had that have brought you right here to this moment. What paths have you walked that have brought you straight to your core, that have brought you to your center? Think about those. And know that you've picked up so much good and so many gifts along the way that have brought you to this very moment. We're being called right now to be totally present, to reevaluate all that you thought was important in your life, right here in this moment. Which step on the stepping stone are you standing on? Is it time for you to take another step? Have you stayed on one a little too long? Has it started to feel bitter? Do you have some major rocks in your backpack that you need to let go of? Go ahead and let them go. Sai Baba says, man learns through experience, and the spiritual path is full of different kinds of experiences. Man will encounter many difficulties and many obstacles, and they are the very experiences he needs to encourage and complete the cleansing process. In my own words, I'm saying these are the experiences that we need that bring us continually back to center. Walking our path to center. So I wanted to share with you that folks today, especially kids, especially teens, are walking their path more and more alone, where they feel alone, where they're not, for some reason, able to see all of the support and the community and the connection that is all around them. Do you know people like that? Have you had maybe at times felt that way yourself? Because I want you to know that we as a community, that is one of our goals. That's one of the reasons why we're here, is connection, is is being that support structure, no matter what stone you're on when you're walking your path. And I want to tell you about a really unique opportunity that we have been invited to participate in, which thrills me to no end. And I'll tell you why. Next Sunday, there is a fundraising 5K walk, and it's called a Walk to Talk. And it's a 5K walk for Douglas County. It's called DC Proud, DC Strong. And it's a walk to raise funds to raise awareness and prevention of suicide, especially teen suicide, within our county. And it's going to be a great fundraiser, and I'm telling you it's going to be a great fundraiser for many reasons. It's going to be a great fundraiser because this fundraiser's been put together for one intention and one intention only: creating community, feeling connected, no matter who and what you are. And so all of the different faiths within this community has been invited to participate. Not just one faith, not just a faith that they think is right, not just the faith that the leaders think that that's the only faith that should be followed. It's all faiths, because it's all faiths that lead us on our path, right? We get to choose. We have that privilege to choose whatever faith we want to walk our path on. And so it's been such an honor and privilege to be invited to participate in this. The activities start at 11 next Sunday. The walk starts at 1, and we're going to have a table there. We're going to have a table and a canopy. We've ordered shirts. We're going to show up, and we're going to participate. And there is no minimum amount to donate to walk. You can donate $1 and walk. You can donate whatever you want. You can donate 50 cents and walk. This is about creating community and showing up in our community to say we're connected. We're connected. We're here. We're serving. We love. We're aware. And so I am telling you about this Walk to Talk so that if you didn't know about it, join us. There's going to be several of us there. There's going to be several of us working the booth, which just means we're hanging out and we're talking to people and saying, hey, how you doing? And we're going to have some pamphlets if anybody's interested in our community here. And then there's going to be some of us that are actually going to be walking the walk that starts at 1. And you can register online. That information is in your bulletin today. You have it in your hand. You can register for $1, and you can show up and walk this walk. So I'm inviting all of us to show up and do this. It really thrills me to no end that we've been invited to participate, and I just love it. And we've got several people here who have already signed up to volunteer, and we have T-shirts that have been ordered, and we have a few left in various sizes. So please see Ross Tilton. He's in the back right now in the beautiful Hawaiian shirt. If you're interested in getting a shirt, and just know that because we ordered 30, so if we end up running out of shirts, we're going to make another order. Now, they most likely won't be here in time for next Sunday's walk, but you will get a shirt. So just see Ross about that. Super excited about all of this. If you are already signed up to volunteer for that, could you go ahead and just raise your hands? I'd like to acknowledge you and honor you in that. Good job. Thank you. So it's next Sunday. I imagine we're all probably just going to come to the service wearing our shirts, because as soon as the service is over, we're going to be heading out there. All the details is in your bulletin if you have any questions on this. And so I want to close by reading for you. I'm sorry. Yes, Ross? Oh, that's right. I had that in my notes. Thank you. Yes, thank you. This is exciting. So our guest artist next Sunday is Natalie Oliver Atherton, and she is going to be here with her group, her singing group. And she and I were working on the possibility of offering a concert afterwards. Yet this fundraising walk came up, and I felt that it was much, much more important for our community to show connection within the greater community. So I asked Natalie, I said, Natalie, would you be willing to do a concert maybe there, if we could work it out? Maybe perform and be the event entertainment at this fundraiser. And she thought that was just an amazing idea, so I contacted the people that were doing it. They kind of went over all of the different technical specifics that were required. At first they thought it wasn't going to be possible because of electricity issues, but now we found out it is possible. So Natalie Oliver Atherton, our guest musician for next Sunday, and her team of singers is going to be there next Sunday wearing our t-shirts and performing for about an hour and a half at the event. And we are so excited about that. Just another opportunity to show up and give of our gifts, no matter what those are. So yes, it's awesome. Thank you, Ross. So I want to close us with a message from a Hopi elder this morning. And this is a message from a Hopi elder, and I invite you to take in what I am sharing with you and take it for what it means to you personally. You have been telling the people that this is the 11th hour. Now you must go back and tell the people that this is the hour. There are things to be considered. Where are you living? What are you doing? What are your relationships? Are you in right relation? Where is your water? Know your garden. It is time to speak your truth. Create your community. Be good to each other. And do not look outside of yourself for the leader. There is a river flowing now very, very fast. It is so great and swift that there are those who will be afraid. They will try to hold on to the shore, and they will feel they are being torn apart, and because of feeling this way, will suffer greatly. Know the river has a destination. The elders say we must let go of the shore, push off into the middle of the river, keep our eyes wide open and our heads above the water. See who is there with you right now and celebrate. At this time in history, we are to take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. For the moment that we do, our spiritual growth and journey comes to a halt. The time of the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves. Banish the word struggle from your attitude and your vocabulary. All that we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration. We are the ones that we have been waiting for. We are truly the ones that we have been waiting for, my friends. And it is time. It is time, if there was ever a time before, to show up, to speak our truth, to celebrate our community, and to come together. So join with me in knowing that there is truly only one divine essence and power and love that is operating throughout everything. Everything seen and unseen. There is an infinite intelligence and a huge, big, perfect pattern plan taking place. And we are privileged, we are celebrating, and we rejoice because it is our divine right to show up and be our unique, true expression of spirit right here and right now. This is the time. Reach in and walk the path to your sacred center every single day. We know that we have everything that we need. We have everything in our toolkit. We have everything that we need to let go of the rocks in our backpack, to take that next step, maybe off of a particular stone we've been on for far too long. We know that we have everything that we need to show up as a leader in our community and in our organization. We have everything that we need to reveal and to touch in on our sacred center, which is the most powerful, most loving, most compassionate, incredibly clear, incredibly amazing space and place and essence and feeling that we can possibly place ourselves into. For we know that the power of the present moment is all there is, and we now, with a grateful heart, lift up our foot and take that next step on this incredible journey of life. As we practice the definition of spirituality, holding the intention of expressing the divine in every aspect of our life, we simply show up and say, yes, thank you, God, and so it is.